Hi, my name is Mario, and you're watching Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR.
The mix of salty sea air and burnt rubber. The big skies, high banks, and grandstands. The rumble in your chest. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. Honoring history and making it. At the biggest race of the year on the biggest stage of a lifetime. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to have you with us as we get ready for one of the most action-packed weekends of Alabama athletics you will see the entire school year, pretty much all of it taking place here in Tuscaloosa. So hope you're ready for it. But it's great to have you with us once again as we start our show, as we always do, taking a look at what's coming up on the program, plus our headlines, thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Let's see what's coming up first on the show. We'll preview baseball as David Kindred, our radio analyst for the Crimson Tide Sports Network, will join us to talk about Rob Vaughn in year 3 for his tenure at the University of Alabama. Full baseball preview with David to start the show. Then some men's basketball highlights from last night's win for the Tide at Ole Miss. We'll also hear from Labaron Philon Jr. Great appearance with Chris Stewart on Monday's edition of Hey Coach. So a Hey Coach replay with Labaron. And then we'll close it out by hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide women's basketball team, Kristy to preview what's coming up between Alabama and Oklahoma in women's basketball coming up on Sunday. For the men's basketball team, last night was a lot of fun for Alabama in Oxford, picking up a 93-74 win against Ole Miss. Had that 2-point game at halftime, not many shots going in the first half, but then they all seemingly went in the second half. Great performance by not only Labaron Philon, who we'll hear from in a few moments, but Latrell Wrightsell Jr. He was certainly on fire for Alabama against Ole Miss. Now, coming up this weekend, Alabama at home against South Carolina at 7:30 for Alumni Night plus Power of Pink for the men's basketball team. Great to see them take part in that initiative as well. 7:30, the tip-off against the Gamecocks. Our coverage on the radio will start at 6:30 for Alabama men's basketball. Trying to go 2-0 this week after getting the win against Ole Miss. Hopefully a win on Saturday against South Carolina. For the women's basketball team, no basketball game tonight. This will be the final open date that Kristy and the Crimson Tide have coming up this season as Alabama tries to really bounce back from an interesting week last week. Defeated a 13th-ranked Ole Miss team last Thursday, then fell to a team near the bottom of the SEC standings in Texas A&M on Sunday. So a chance for Alabama to get things right during this week of practice, as you'll hear Coach Curry talk about later in the show. Sunday, it will be another great test for Alabama women's basketball, hosting 12th-ranked Oklahoma. Tip-off is set for 3 o'clock. Our airtime will be at 2:45 for the Power of Pink and Play for K game. Alabama continues to be ranked in the top 25, checking in at number 23. And here we go with another top 25 matchup for Alabama on Sunday against Oklahoma. For the Crimson Tide on the diamond, last week was perfect for Alabama softball, starting the season 5-0, and now they get to be at home at the Rhodes House for the first time this season, hosting the Bama Bash. Crimson Tide with that great opening weekend, ranked as high as number 8 in one poll, but currently ranked number 10 in the D1 softball poll. So Alabama in really good shape, getting set for its opening home weekend at the Rhodes House. Over at Sewell Thomas Stadium, it is opening weekend for the season for Rob Vaughn and the Crimson Tide baseball team, hosting Washington State. We also learned from the baseball team this week that the opening weekend rotation will feature Tyler Fay, a good right-hander, not a member of the Fray. Fay will be going on Friday for Alabama, followed by lefty Zane Adams coming up on Saturday, and then it'll be Miles Upchurch pitching on Sunday. We look forward to seeing that talented freshman right-hander make his Alabama debut. Pretty good sign about what he can do, cracking the opening weekend rotation against Washington State. More on that with David Kindred coming up in a moment in our baseball preview. Then to Alabama athletics, we're excited for tomorrow night for Alabama's Power of Pink gymnastics meet against the Arkansas Razorbacks in what is a top 10 showdown. 3rd-ranked Alabama, 8th-ranked Arkansas. I'll be on the call on SEC Network Plus for that meet. Coming up for the Crimson Tide against Arkansas is Ashley Johnston's team. Hopes to get closer to that 198 score. Just keep building at this point of the season. For the football team, they announced that the Golden Flake A-Day game will take place on April 11th. More details to come, but the Golden Flake A-Day will be on April 11th. Kind of like this weekend. It's going to be a busy weekend with softball and baseball in action. Football gets to join all the fun coming up on April 11th. More details will be available through RollTide.com and Yay Alabama. Also, tip of the cap to everybody in the classroom for Alabama athletics as 129 student athletes were named academic all SEC for their great marks in the classroom during the fall semester. We continue to see great work in the classroom done by Alabama student athletes. David Kindred was always a great student when he was at the University of Alabama playing baseball just over a decade ago for the Crimson Tide, and he joins us now to preview this baseball season. David will be with us a lot coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network as our radio baseball analyst, but also you'll catch him on some SEC Network Plus broadcast as well, and he joins us to break down Crimson Tide baseball as we get ready for the start of the 2026 season. It is finally here, opening day at the Joe. How's everything going as we get ready to start the season?
Man, I am stoked about opening day. It's the nostalgia. It doesn't matter if you're a little leaguer, high school, college age, or analyzing the game. It is just right on around the corner, and I'm going to tell you, I'm excited about it, Roger. Looking forward to be in the Joe and getting the anxious anxiety out leading up to game time and playing some baseball.
Yeah, finally getting to play some baseball, especially against somebody else, because these guys have been practicing all throughout the fall. There's so much work that goes in, even around Christmas time, and then once the full workouts start in January. Just what's this final week like for the players and coaches getting set for the opener?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a little bit of pent-up anxiety. Maybe anxiety is not the right word, but you have all this leading up to time of, like you said, back and forth scrimmaging all throughout the fall for 7 to 8 months, and now the pen to the paper of who is going to start. And again, there's just all your dreams, all the goals of going to Omaha. It's a clean slate. You have everything's in front of you, and I think that's what everybody gets excited about. I mean, I'm sure tonight when I go to bed, I'm gonna roll around like I always was, just in nervous excitement. And I think everybody has that. It's because it's a good thing. It's that you care about it. And I think that's where a lot of these, where everybody gets, no matter your age. And it's once the first pitch is thrown, it starts, and and then you can kind of breathe a little bit of sigh of relief. But there's a lot of excitement. I was thinking back to 2016, my last year as a coach, and opening up the brand new Joe. If you can see it back there, got a picture of it, and all the anxiety of the new stadium renovation, and just that first pitch being thrown by Jeffrey Bram, and then seeing Chandler Taylor with his first at bat as a freshman hit a home run in what was the brand new right field Rangers, and just people on top of people, and just like the explosion of excitement. So that was just one small memory of opening day that was really fun for me.
And someone that was in the ballpark for that opening day against Maryland, Rob Vaughn, who was at the time an assistant coach for the Terps. Now, of course, our head coach here in Tuscaloosa, just over the last 2 years, and now as he gets ready for his third season as Alabama's head coach, how have you seen him kind of make this program his own?
He's done a phenomenal job, and I think his approach is very player oriented. That I'm starting to learn a little bit more about him. He does a great job of connecting, and I think he's learning how to put SEC pieces together. And I think it's something we're going to talk about a little bit. But I think we've talked in the last 2 years about building depth. But I think what's different about this type of depth is the pieces are a little bit different. But what I mean by that is your offensive pieces. First, when he came in, he had a lot of big bats, a lot of big, heavy guys that were playing. And I think he's kind of diversified, where in this new roster limitations, you have to have a different piece like a Brennan Holt, a guy that can play multiple positions, a guy that can move around a little bit more, a guy that can hit it gap to gap. And you still need a guy that can run it out of the yard. And I think we might see a couple of these pieces in this. I think from a couple of pieces that we've heard from Coach Rob Vaughn about the arms that we're going to see come out of the bullpen are very specific to situations where it's lefty, but may not be power arm lefty. It may be a little bit more of feel and off-speed pitch. So he's kind of carved out puzzle pieces of depth. It's a little bit different. It's one thing to have a lot of depth of guys, but they're all the same strengths and skill set. I think as he's emerged into year 3, he's kind of being able to play and tinker with what I need in a certain situation.
Well, always good to see at shortstop Justin Labaron, a player that can play and fit into any lineup you want, any matchup you want. It's good to have him back. What are you hoping for this junior season for Justin LeBron and Crimson?
I, well, one, I want to. He is an absolute five-tool player. We already know that. I think his leadership ability, the guys gravitate to him. He's the guy that stirs the drink. The way he approaches the game is how everybody falls in line, and that's a good thing as a leader. And I think he's taken that on. This is year 3 for him at Alabama and I think that should be. I think that's pretty special in this day and age, and I want to commend him on that because I really do believe he wants to make it special at Alabama. And I think all the personal accolades that can be swirling around, he's been able to zone in and have his approach. And I think for him this year, he got off to such a hot start last year. Alabama, I think it was the first 20 games where they had that winning streak going. They kind of hit their peak there, and then just it kind of puttered along through SEC play. And again, obviously, we know the SEC is the gauntlet of everything that's going on, but that was kind of when Justin LeBron kind of was kind of figuring out getting back on track, and it just didn't seem to get back on track for him at the clip that he was going on. He's batting over 450. Obviously, that you're not going to duplicate that over time, but I think that's where Justin LeBron and Rob Vaughn want to say, hey, we saw our glimpse. We kind of hit our peak early in the season. We want to be hitting our peak close to the end of SEC play, into postseason. That's where the next step for Justin LeBron is, because for him as a five-tool player, he's doing it on the field, he's doing it on the base pass, and obviously with his bat.
He really is. And then on the mound, the Crimson Tide announced their opening weekend rotation. We'll get to see Tyler Fay on Friday, Zane Adams on Saturday, and then someone we're pretty excited to see for the first time in a game-like atmosphere, Miles Upchurch, a freshman, gets the ball on Sunday. What are your thoughts on the opening rotation?
I've already heard the phrase, get to watch up church after church on Sunday. I'm looking forward to watching this freshman, highly touted, all the perfect games, rankings out there. I think everybody knows the stuff for Miles is going to be really good and pretty deserving to be a true freshman in this day and age, and getting the nod on the weekend. Pretty phenomenal stuff. Now, I think for Rob Vaughn is to evaluate, you want the confidence to build. You want to see his stuff. When the real lights come on, how are you going to perform as a young freshman? So I think it's phenomenal. I'm excited to watch him play, to pitch on Sunday. And I like the way that Coach Rob Vaughn and Coach Jason Jackson have aligned this weekend rotation. I think it's the best way for Alabama to get the most wins on a weekend. I like Tyler Fay in the Friday night role. I think he's obviously, being a senior, experienced guy. Those Friday night lights are not going to be too big, but it also is a different type of matchup where he's got 93 to 95 mile-an-hour fastball, but not overpowering, but very crafty right-hander with stuff. And then you've got the anchor, in my opinion, in Zane Adams. And then obviously your Sunday with the X factor of Miles Upchurch.
So it's exciting to see the opening day, a rotation for the Crimson Tide as we get ready for Alabama against Washington State. And David, as you know, these weeks are really important. The 4 weeks you have before conference play begins in mid-March at Kentucky, just kind of figuring out who the options are. Anything else fans should keep an eye out from the lineup, kind of changing day to day as Coach Vaughn continues to get to know what his team is like in game-like situations?
You're exactly right, Roger. These first 20 games in early February and early March, you really get to find out, because there's so many Rob Vaughn, you could ask him today and he said, hey, I'm going to roll out a lineup on Friday. That offensive lineup, regardless of how that player might play on Friday night, I might roll it, not only change the lineup, but change the player in there to just get a feel. We want to see a lot of pieces and see how they perform in different situations and up and down the lineup. And I think that, again, to my initial point right out the gate, the depth and the pieces of the puzzle of players are a little bit different, in my opinion, from last year. I'm not saying that's no critic on the last year's team. I just think that it's a little bit more athletic. I do think that obviously the mainstay names of Justin LeBron and Bryce Fowler, your middle of the field. And I think that the strong thing that makes me feel a whole lot better, where there was a little bit of panic for Alabama, just injuries happened, was the catcher situation last year. And I think that Alabama shored that up in some that's going to be an interesting how you play that all out with Plattner, Brady Neal, and John Lim, who they got in the transfer portal too. I think it's great competition. You've got good catching, a good catching situation, and most teams are really good when you've got the middle of the field covered on the Justin LeBron, Bryce Fowler, and the catching situation. It'll just be interesting to see how that all plays out. Who's going to get the most innings on that?
We look forward to seeing it starting on Friday, Alabama against Washington State. David, you and I will get to call a few innings together before I head to gymnastics, and then we're going to be calling a lot of games together this year, not only on SEC Network Plus, but here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Just thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you at the Joe. Roll Tide.
Roger, I'm super excited about it. Look forward to going with you real quick on this one.
My name's Ada Sherrill, and you're watching Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR.
Fans, there's no better way to experience Alabama basketball than with our live basketball booth cams presented by NASCAR. Streaming live during all Alabama men's and women's basketball home games this season, you'll get a front row seat to all the great reactions from our radio crew as the big plays happen for the Crimson Tide. Make sure you follow us on all your favorite social media platforms at UA_CTSN, especially subscribe on YouTube. That way you won't miss a single basketball booth cam this season. Again, presented by NASCAR for all Alabama men's and women's basketball home games this year.
Go Holloway, a deep three, bottom. Mercy from 30 feet out, dead on. Holloway with 25, and Bama leads it by 14. Holloway is tied up in the corner, needs help, gives it off to Sherrill, back to Holloway, the kick in the corner, Millette for three, bottom. One more to Sherrill, back to Holloway in the corner. He'll go baseline, spinning away from traffic. Allen to Philon, steps to his right, shoots a three, bottom. Bama back-to-back, bank first threes. Holloway on the far wing, getting down the lane, kicking it near side Allen. One more, Reitzel, three, bottom. Great unselfish pass from Amari Allen. Rebels turn it over, Bama the steal. Reitzel left side for three again, makes it again, and the Tide's heating up and enjoying now a 59-44 lead. 10:04 to go, timeout, Ole Miss. Holloway left side, Aiden setting things up offensively off the screen for Bull Bowen. He'll slide left, shoots a three, bottom, and a timeout again for Ole Miss as that one is done. And Bama wins it by a final of 93-74 here in Oxford. The Crimson Tide with a win, now 17-7 overall, 7-4 in SEC play.
Chris and Brian had a lot of fun last night in Oxford getting that win against the Ole Miss Rebels. And earlier this week, Chris had the chance to catch up with Labaron Philon Jr., one of the outstanding stars of Crimson Tide basketball and in SEC basketball. Once again, he is the SEC Player of the Week, and he joined Chris earlier this week on Hey Coach from Baumhauer's on Monday night.
Philon, 6 to shoot. Philon at 5, a deep three, bottom. Oh, mercy, Labaron Philon Jr. buries the bank first three. He's been doing that a lot lately, and that's one of the reasons he is with us now, back at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Hey, Coach, and yes, Labaron Philon Jr. is here, the Pride of Mobile. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and again, I showed you the graphic. Labaron Philon Jr., SEC Player of the Week. Looked great. I know you're about the team, but that's a great honor. And tell me what it does mean to you when you get recognized for a performance like you had in the last two games.
It's been everything. I try not to look at it like for, the most part, like you said, just being all about the team. But, it's just a great feeling when you put in all that work, and it just like it pays off a lot. And like I said, I can't thank my teammates enough. They give me the opportunity to go out there and just like have fun and play with a lot of space and opportunity. So thankful for the coaches and the players I got around me just to be able to do that.
When I look and I see that you have 21 points, 4.5 rebounds, it doesn't surprise me at all. And it doesn't surprise me when I see you have 4.5 assists. But I would imagine, having never been this guy myself, but I would imagine there is a natural tendency when you have the skill set that you do to try to put a lot on yourself, which most people associate with just putting the ball in the basket yourself. How difficult is it for you, or is it tough to make sure you're getting everybody involved so that this team can be their best?
I would say, it's a tough job, just playing for a great coach and, him giving you the keys, just go out there and make plays. I mean, you definitely have to try to find a balance in between it, just like knowing when to do your job and knowing when to just get guys, in the game. And I feel like I've been doing a great job at that lately, just trying to get everybody involved and just like having that balance in between trying to, take over a game and just trying to, run the floor of a game. So really just like talking to the coaches, they've been helping me doing a great job to just like becoming a better leader. So it's been great. These past couple of games we done picked it up a little bit and, we done seen everybody and what everybody can do. So it's really good just going to the back end of the schedule just to be ready to go out there and ball.
It's back-to-back years now that Alabama's won at Auburn. And I know they all count as one. They're all important. But for an Alabama kid playing at the University of Alabama in a very important game for both teams, how special is it to go in there and have the type of performance you did?
It's really special. Just, really special to go in that place and get a W. First of all, just like, and like I said, playing for Coach Oates, knowing how bad he wanted to win that game. So it was just a great feeling after we won. And, we put in the work into that game, just like coming in prepared, knowing it was going to be a hard, gritty game and just like ready to fight to the end. So I was really proud of my guys after that.
One last thing with you. For this team, knowing that there's a lot of games still to be played. It hadn't gone the whole way the way you would like, but you're sitting here in a spot only a couple of games out, and you can very much factor in this SEC championship race. Tell me about, what the mentality is. Is it simply and as easy as one game at a time, or are you guys still talking about a championship?
It's kind of in the mix of both.
In the middle.
We know we have a great team, great guys around, great staff, great everything, but we just like haven't been doing a good job. It's just like coming ready to play, coming ready to prepare, and I feel like the last couple of weeks everybody has been dialed in. So like you just said, taking it one day at a time. I feel like everybody just focus on winning that possession or just like winning that day in practice. So it's really just like been a grateful feeling just to see our guys really staying in it and staying locked in and staying, mentally strong enough to just like come back after losses and rebuild, regroup, and then get a W, get some more W's. And I feel like, we about to start, rather than off the W. So that's a great feeling just going into this, part of the schedule and it's getting, about that time. So I'm really, really confident in my guys and we're ready to, make a run for it.
We're confident in you guys as well. Thanks so much, Labaron Philon Jr., SEC Player of the Week, and our guest here at Hey Coach from Baumhauer's Victory Grill.
Fans, here's our next episode of Seat to Shine presented by SeatGeek as we highlight Alabama gymnastics.
I don't know if this is a hidden talent, but I can make macarons. My favorite that I make is a s'more, so it's like a chocolate cookie and then marshmallow and then graham crackers are on the outside. I started doing gymnastics when I was 3 years old. We actually, as a preschool class, went on a field trip. They called my parents afterwards and they were like, your daughter has talent. And they're like, how do you know your daughter has talent when she's 3 years old doing some rolls down a mat? But obviously they were right, so they saw something in me and I'm so grateful they did. When first looking into college, planned on staying closer to home. And then I visited Alabama and fell in love with the program, fell in love with the team, fell in love with the culture. It set me up for my best future, so grateful to be here. I think the dream sporting event to attend would probably be college football national championships, Alabama versus whoever, with Alabama winning, obviously. I think my favorite seat, if I were to be sitting there, is anywhere in the student section because, one, as a competitor, when I'm doing a bar dismount and I stick, I'm looking straight at you guys, celebrating with you guys first. And then also the student section during floor gets up on their feet and has so much fun and has a party. So I think the student section. This is actually something that I've had to dive into, is finding my why. Some days I'm doing it for me. Some days I'm doing it for her, which is the little me. Some days I'm doing it for each other, which is my team. And then other days I'm doing it for the next generation. So that's what I go back to when I'm having a good day or a hard day, is remembering one of those and then doing it for them.
Hi, I'm Carly Weathers, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This isn't just a race, it's the race. 500 miles of glory, a million memories, one place. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
Now we focus on women's basketball to close out the show, as Alabama will not have a game tonight, final open date of the season for Kristy Curry, but she's got her team ready to go for Sunday, Alabama against Oklahoma at Coleman Coliseum. She joins us now to preview what's coming up between the Crimson Tide and the Sooners. Coach Roll Tide, it's good to see you. How have you and the Crimson Tide basketball team really used this past week, and especially the open date on Thursday, to keep improving at this time of the season?
Yeah, I think, it's been a great week. Anytime you can have a bye week and get a little bit of extra rest, I certainly feel like that, our team will benefit from that. And it's a great time of year for that. 2 bye weeks in the SEC this year. Sometimes we have only the one. And I think it comes at a really good time for a basketball team to catch our breath and get our feet back under us and get some quality rest.
When you look back at last week for Alabama, the win against Ole Miss, the loss on Sunday against Texas A&M, what were some of the main lessons learned for your basketball team?
Yeah, I think just, we had two experiences, and one that we wanted to, have that went our way, and the other one that we just were completely different basketball teams. So I think at the end of the day, we have to look and understand the what, the why, and figure out a solution to try to make sure that we don't have any inconsistency. You don't want to be inconsistent come February, and we understand that, and we've just gone back to work, stayed positive, continued to teach. I think you either coach it or allow it. Your film time, film doesn't lie. And that's such a different Thursday night from Sunday. And you have to understand the grit. I thought we played with a tremendous amount of effort against Ole Miss, and I thought we chose not to against Texas A&M. So I have to figure out, what do I need to do better to try to put us in a better position to stay consistent in the month of February. It's often too, though, Roger, called the SEC. And, a lot of, adversity and the things that you go through is because it's the SEC, and you just have to understand what it takes to get through it.
And how much does weeks like this that you've had just really prepare you for March Madness, going through this gauntlet of an SEC schedule?
Yeah, when you get to the NCAA tournament, you're prepared because of what you've gone through in your conference play. And, everyone talks about, well, we're in the best league in the country. Truly, there's no night off in this league. And that's when you get to the NCAA tournament, you can't take a day off because it'll catch you. And I think that, come tournament time, we're going to be prepared. We're excited about where our net's at. We're excited about our strength of schedule, and we feel like we're in the tournament. But at the same time, it's not about being just in. It's about working on our seeding for the SEC tournament, continuing to work on our seeding for the NCAA tournament. So it's so important that we take advantage of each opportunity, which another one on Sunday against a great Oklahoma team. I think all of our remaining games except one are opponents ranked above us. And that's a little unusual. I don't think you see that across other leagues.
Certainly don't. And as you mentioned, it starts with the Oklahoma Sooners, a really talented team that Alabama will face on Sunday, not just in the post with everything Madison Beers can do, but just up and down this roster. Am I correct?
Yeah, no question. I think I know they are the fastest paced team in the country. They're number one in overall pace, and they love to score often and early in the shot clock. Our transition defense will have to be extraordinary. We'll have to do a really nice job of defending from the inside out when they do get in the half court. But you've got to understand, they've got one of the best freshmen in the country, possibly National Freshman of the Year. And, Chavez, she's taken over 100 plus shots more than any of her teammates. She's dynamic, obviously. And you've got Burlhurst around her, and then you've got Beers inside, and, I could just go down the entire roster. So they have 4 in double figures in SEC play. They're well balanced, well coached, and they're just extremely talented. So we're going to have to do our best job of, what's gotten us our wins is how we've defended, and how we've balanced the rebounding. And so anytime that you can defend and rebound, you give yourself a chance. And last week should have taught us that, when you can defend and rebound, you have an opportunity. And I think that's what we have to take into Sunday.
We're looking forward to it on Sunday. Alabama back at home at Coleman Coliseum. And, Coach, this is such a special weekend. Power of Pink, starting with gymnastics on Friday nights, and will continue through men's and women's basketball over the weekend. But how meaningful is the Power of Pink and the Play for K game we're going to see?
Yeah, it's incredibly meaningful because all of us within our families, within people that we know or are close to, have been affected by women's cancers. And so all that we can do to help raise an awareness, continue to support those causes in our own community. We had a chance last week to go out to DCH Cancer Center and visit patients and tour the facility and spend time with their administration. It's absolutely incredible what DCH does for our community here at home, and then what the K Yao found, what they do with Play for K and Coach Yao. And, it's amazing to see from a local to a national scale the impact that we can have just by wearing pink on Sunday. And we're very proud and honored to be a part of that event.
We look forward to it. Coach, thank you for your time. All the best against Oklahoma. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Hey, I'm Tyler Booker. You're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Now it's time for one of our busiest upcoming schedules of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, because we have baseball, softball going just at the same time. We're in the heart of SEC play for Alabama men's and women's basketball, so let's not waste any more time. Let's look at our upcoming schedule. Well, coming up, it will be a very busy Friday with softball hosting a doubleheader as part of the Easton Bama Bash. Purdue at 4 o'clock, Liberty at 6 p.m. Baseball also will start its season at 4 o'clock. And do want to note there will be a softball booth cam for the Purdue matchup coming up on Friday, and also for the game at 6 o'clock against Liberty. So softball's where you can catch the booth cam coming up on Friday, and then baseball, you can catch the booth cam there for the 2 o'clock first pitch against Washington State, and then later that night, the basketball booth cam for Alabama men's basketball against South Carolina. Softball will be playing Purdue and Liberty as well coming up on Valentine's Day. Then on Sunday, it's going to be softball against Georgia Southern to round out play in the Easton Bama Bash. Baseball at 1 o'clock against Washington State. And then women's basketball will be back with a basketball booth cam as well for the Oklahoma game, coming up on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Then Chris Stewart will talk all about it with Hey Coach and the Nate Oates Show coming up on Monday, 6 p.m., presented by Alpha Insurance at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Again, to watch all our booth cams, to keep up with all the final scores coming up from this weekend, make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN, especially hit subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss anything that we have. A lot of live content coming up over the weekend here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. It's going to wrap up this very busy Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guest, David Kindred, as well as Labaron Philon for his appearance on Hey Coach, and then Kristy Curry to round out the show. Thank you to Ethan Carabin. He put together our radio highlights from men's basketball, plus all the interviews you saw today and this entire show. Thanks to Ethan for his hard work and everything he has coming up this weekend for producing our booth camps for softball, baseball, and, of course, men's and women's basketball. As we say goodbye, this is Roger Hoover saying again, thanks to all of you for watching this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll see you at some point in Tuscaloosa for a very busy weekend of Alabama athletics. But until then, be safe and roll Tide.